RivalFlow from the get-go has been using the format of questions. Here are the
Mhm.
questions that you missed.
Mhm.
Why is that?
Yeah, that's a great question because like a lot of times people have the idea or the misconception that what you should do is paste the question and then the answer into your content, kind of like as an FAQ.
Hmm.
That isn't the way that it's intended to be used. It's not the end of the world if you wind up doing that. You just like take these questions and paste them in the end of your content. I don't know. It's probably better than nothing. But the intent is to say it's like a writer's prompt, right? It's so much easier, in my opinion, as a kind of basic person without like great writing skills. It's it's like it's much easier for me to just answer a question than to be like, how about I do some exposition on like some kind of random topic. Like, dude, look at what we're doing right here. You're asking me questions. I can talk about it for literally 3 hours. Meanwhile, if you're like, hey, Mike, can you just randomly talk about RivalFlow stuff on video or something? No, dude, it's so much easier for me to just answer the question that you ask. Way easier, right? So that's my opinion. And that's how we built the product. It's the product is designed to prompt you with those questions so that you can answer them. Then you can evaluate whether or not the GPT is answering it in a way that you like.
And that really is that's an aspect of RivalFlow. Obviously, it's great to get those AI generated that AI generated feedback back, right? But
Mhm.
just discovering the questions that you're missing is a huge thing. Do you want to articulate that a little bit more because I don't think we talk about that enough.
So basically what we're doing is, we're trying to identify like the core thing of RivalFlow is we look at your competitor's website, we look at your competitor's page, and we look at your page. We use ChatGPT. ChatGPT reads it, reads your page, and then says, what questions are they answering that you're not? And more importantly, which questions are they answering more thoroughly than you are? And then we say, okay, here's how they're answering it. Here's their answer, and here's your answer side by side, and then we say, here's how theirs is more thorough. Sometimes when you look at their answer side by side with your answer, you're like, I don't know, they look like the same. Even mine's even a little bit longer. But the software does the job of analyzing it and comparing these snippets and being like, actually, there's a little bit in here where they're giving more specific information, or like they're giving a step-by-step process and you're not, right? It'll tell you this in like sort of written form, and then we break that down into like these sub questions so that you can then just take and surgically insert the little bits that you're missing, right? And
Mhm.
so like all of that is frankly, you know well, it's where the value is. It's identifying that gap, the questions, and then the sort of the nuanced differences between the things that you're answering, just not quite as completely as theirs, right? That little difference is is kind of the key, right? Like it's the gap. And that's like, it's kind of the hard part, that's the part where you can't, you know, you could take an article and another article and be like, hey, ChatGPT, tell me the differences. You
Uh-huh.
can do that. And you know what? You'll get results that look pretty good. Like you'll get pretty good results. Like you'll get results that look pretty good. If you keep doing it, you'll realize that those results aren't very good. Or those results aren't predictably good. So the
Yeah.
hard part isn't saying, hey, ChatGPT, tell me the difference between these two things, because it'll tell you. The hard part is breaking it down into steps and making that whole process predictable. And that's like a different thing than having a conversation. That's like sort of a software engineering thing. I mean, it's software engineering for sure, but it's also, it's not just prompt engineering. It's like, you know, taking that output and figuring out like what that's saying and kind of grading it and figuring out like a workflow. I'll tell you, when we do a page to page comparison in RivalFlow, it's like an 80 question answer long workflow that we do in ChatGPT.
A big question that I think pops into a lot of people's brains when they hear about RivalFlow AI is, why can't I just, I got ChatGPT, it's
Yeah.
right there. I
Yeah.
got Llama 3. I've got all, I've got all
Yeah.
these AI things. Why don't I just, why don't I just do it?
Yeah, I mean, you can do a certain portion of it, right? And it just comes down to like predictability and quality of output, and sort of like, we're basically just, I mean, like I was just saying, it's not so much about just the prompt engineering and like the conversation that you have, but it's about taking those output, breaking the process down into like steps so that you can create the predictability. And then, but the problem is then you have to like use some software engineering to like take those outputs and turn them into new inputs and basically have like this sort of fluid, conversation, 80 prompt long conversation with ChatGPT in an automated way. That's really where the value is. That's like sort of like the patented portion of RivalFlow is kind of that process. There's some innovation there. It's not like the craziest thing that I've ever done, but it's cool. I mean, in terms of like software, there's something like harder things that can be accomplished in the world, but it happens to be a piece of innovation that didn't exist prior to RivalFlow. Like RivalFlow is pure new innovation. Nobody's ever done it before.